You let me violate you. You let me desecrate you.
Hola everybody, it's Nailing Flicks here, and we are going to do a pretty special episode this week. We're going to do 3 movies, all from the same genre. That is the real life superhero genre. And later on we're going to get into Special from 2006 and Defendor I should say, from 2009. But right now, let's kick ass!
No, not. Ah! It is what it is. How about that, huh? Oh, yeah. Didn't see that, did you? Think it's best that you just walk away. Well, maybe you shouldn't do that. What? Huh? Are you looking at me? Well, this is my business.
So, on to Kick-Ass. Aaron Johnson plays Dave Lazowski, a mild-mannered teenager who questions why there aren't any real-life superheroes and decides to become one despite having no real superpowers to speak of. Through getting into a situation which is way over his head, he meets Big Daddy, played by Nicolas Cage, and Hit Girl, played by grace-moretz, a father and daughter team of real-life superheroes who are in the process of taking down a crime syndicate. So, the review. I have to admit, when the film ended, I was fairly confused as to what I thought of the film. It was kind of hard for me to pinpoint as to whether I really enjoyed it or not. And I mean, there are a lot of great moments in it. There are some really enjoyable things, like the action sequences are a lot of fun. As has been said countless times before, the character of Hit Girl is, she's very fun. She's ultra violent, and you find yourself laughing at quite a few things that perhaps in hindsight you think to yourself you probably shouldn't laugh at. I think though that there are a lot of changes in tone throughout the film, as in it goes from kind of being a teenage comedy film to being a superhero film. Then there are elements of drama in it as well, and so for me, I think these moments I kind of felt a bit bewildered by them, in that I really didn't get into a sort of flow of the film that I could just enjoy it. I kind of got a bit jarred at certain points. So it took me a little while to really digest and think to myself whether I enjoyed it or not. But I definitely think overall it was an enjoyable experience. Gers?
Yeah, kind of a shame that you feel that way, because I feel pretty similar.
Oh, right, okay.
I just say that because there's been a lot of love from critics for this film. Yeah. And I must admit, I don't know why. I don't think it's a terrible film by any stretch. And to add to what you were saying about the confusion, I found that I thought I was being led into a story about Aaron Johnson's character, Dave Lazowski.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, or at least the first half is, and then the second half is basically about Hit Girl.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, well, hang on, who was this movie about? It's that classic problem of not having a protagonist.
Yeah.
And then you don't know who you're supposed to root for in the end.
Yeah, I mean, the film almost, in a way, doesn't really know, because it sort of thinks like it should be following Aaron Johnson, but then, Hit Girl is such a compelling character that you kind of, keep going between the two, and maybe that's part of the confusion.
What did you think of Aaron Johnson? Because I thought he was a bit weak. I didn't like his performance.
I thought it was fairly good. I think the narration, at times I kind of thought was a bit weak, but his on-screen performance I thought was good.
I just find that I find him and Jesse Eisenberg to be part of this new upcoming youngster brigade in Hollywood, and I find them to be very lacking in screen charisma. And I don't know if they could have cast it better, because it is an appropriate performance. It's just not. I didn't find it very likeable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously controversy about the film about Hit Girl and her language and violence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, despite, like, I mean, I've read some interviews with various people involved in making the film about, you know, about that violence and the language and so forth, and they're saying, though, you know, that's just how the character is, hasn't been done to shock people, and to me that's complete bullshit, because, I mean, her first line of dialogue is designed to shock. That first fight scene, you know, is, you know, more violent than any other fight scene, so these things are really done to shock you.
Provoke a reaction.
Yeah, right off the bat, so, yeah.
Yeah, it does go for that, really hit you over the head sort of stuff. The violence is very violent.
Yeah.
Like extreme carnage. There's a pretty high body count, especially for an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I think Christopher Mintz-Plasse as Red Mist, I think his shtick is getting a bit long in the tooth.
Yeah.
He was very good in Superbad. He's a fresh new presence. He was very funny.
Yeah.
But he's pretty much doing the same thing. He did the same thing again, almost in Role Models, and he's pretty much doing the same thing again here. He's kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah, so sort of part of that generation that you're talking about?
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. He's got a little bit more presence than the others, but at the same time he hasn't got much range.
Yeah.
I haven't read the graphic novel on which it's based.
No, I mean...
I'm interested to see the differences between the two, and if they actually did try to amp up the violence, amp up the provocation by, you know, using, you know, all this carnage and all this, you know, pretty vulgar language and that sort of thing. I'm just wondering if that's the same sort of deal with the book and the narrative as well. I mean, if they've stayed true to the narrative, then maybe they have done a good job for the fans of the original book. But I guess as a standalone film, there's things to like.
Yeah. The one other thing that I wanted to mention was also, I mean, if this film is trying to make any kind of social commentary at all, it's regarding, you know, the public's attitude toward violence, I thought. There's a scene where there's a person getting beaten up and people are kind of, you know, capturing that on their cell phones and not really helping in any way.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I kind of thought to myself, okay, so the filmmaker is, you know, saying something about our attitude towards violence, and then isn't this kind of a bit self-defeating in that, you know, we're also then being asked to enjoy all of this violence because it is presented in a very entertaining way.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you pick up on that at all?
Yeah, I think basically the theme of this film is it is a confused piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfocused.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
So what are you giving it?
Like I said, there are things to like about it, despite the life-size microwave scene. Yeah. I give it a 6 out of 10.
I'm giving it 6 too.
Daddy, I'm scared.
Come on, Mindy, honey. Be a big girl now. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Is it gonna hurt bad?
Oh, child. Only for a second, sugar. A handgun bullet travels at more than
700 miles an hour.
700 miles an hour. So at close range like this, the force is going to take you off your feet for sure, but it's really no more painful than a punch in the chest.
I hate getting punched in the chest.